G'day, it's Rob here again. Well, lately I've been playing around with a 7x12 metal lathe, a mini lathe, and as you know I've got a share line as well that I've had for quite a while. And one thing with both of them is that they take 8mm tooling, and I really don't have a lot in the way of 8mm tooling. In fact, I've got stuff already. The share line's got a little bit there that I've made up over the years, but I haven't got anything that's indexable. And I thought, well, yeah, this would be a good opportunity to get some tooling for the 7x12 particularly, just to set it up, because, you know, when you get that lathe, it comes with a set of basic tooling, but it's not indexable. You don't get a boring bar, and it sort of does the job, but you want something better. So I had a look on Banggood to see what they have, and they don't have much in 8mm tooling at all. In fact, they only have one set of specifically 8mm tooling, and this is it. So I thought, okay, let's give it a go. Now I'll show you the screen grabs on the ad on the web page for it, and show you what it says. Let's do it. Okay, so what's the difference? 4-piece turning set, whereas the web page says 5-piece turning set, 2 boring bars. I thought, oh, that's a bit odd. But then again, I mean, some of the Banggood descriptions have been a bit wayward at times. But anyway, I thought, okay, maybe there's something extra in the box. So we'll open the box and we'll see what's in the box. Oh, so, yeah, the web page didn't lie. You get 5 items. Oh, hello, what else do you get? Oh, there's your inserts, so they're not fitted. So, basically the inserts for this are what do you get? DCMT and CCMT, which I have got. I've got some bigger indexable tooling, 10mm, 12mm for the bigger lathes, and they take these inserts. They're not too bad. They're quite good actually. Gives you good variety, and it's about as small as you can go on small boring bars particularly. So okay, let's take them out their boxes and have a look at them. Now I chose this set because I thought it was a pretty good set for beginners particularly. It gives you what you want, what you need to get going for most of the stuff you're going to do. You get a left side facing cutter, and of course you can also use that for just normal turning. You get a pointy one, which you could use for the normal turning, left or right. And you get another one here, same configuration as that, but different insert for left or right. And then you get 2 boring bars once again. And I like the way they've done this because they've given you an insert choice. You can vary the insert type, because these inserts, they've got different angles. There's 2 sorts of inserts. These are both quite good ones, because you've got a wider angle one here, so you'll generally get a better finish with that. And you've got a narrower, tighter angle one here, so you can get in tight corners and things with that. The actual setup I think is quite good. I don't think they could have done it much better. That's really what you want. I mean, if you buy a set of, say, 5 of these just regular indexable turning tools, you get a right-hand one as well. You've got a right-hand version of that, which you don't really need, I don't think. I mean, you rarely use it, and you can always turn your tool post and get it on an angle to do the job. So I've got some, and with the right-hand version, and I rarely use that particular tool. But these are what you want. Boring bars are great. I mean, it's no good starting off using a metal lathe if you don't have boring bars. You have to have some boring bars, because if you want to make a hole in something, machine a hole in something, you've got to have one that will go in the hole for a start. So these are good. These are a nice small size. And I have got some 8mm ones from other Banggood sets where they go 8, 10, 12, 13 sort of sizes, but the little ones are super useful, because most times, you know, you drill a hole and say it's as big as your finger. Well, you're only going to get into it with a small boring bar and open it out. And for the sort of work I do, particularly model making, small stuff, this is the size boring bar you want. Okay, now I'll fit the inserts and we'll come back. Okay, we've fitted the inserts and they all fit perfectly. The way these tools are machined is first class. The quality is superb, no problem whatsoever. Now if you look at these, you'll see there's two sorts. There's PPK and Senpu NC tool company. The bulk of them are PPK. I haven't used either of these brands before. And these are all PPK except for this one. This is your Senpu one. Now what they've done is really quite good, because you can see you're getting involved with two sizes of inserts only. A lot of these sets you can get, including some on Banggood, they have, in the laser sizes, they have a whole bunch of different tooling. You might have 8 or 9 different tools, but then you find you've got about 4 different sets or sizes or types of carbide to go in it. So I really don't like that. I like to try and keep the number of inserts, types of inserts, down to a minimum. Otherwise you've just got a drawer full of inserts and it's just a pain. I really don't like it at all. So this is good. You restricted yourself to 2. Now you can see the different facet angles on them. This one's a good one because that is a 60-degree tip, so you can theoretically do single point thread cutting with this. I've got one of these already in a 10mm holder, and I've never actually tried it for single point threading, but I think you could. I think it would do it no problem. And yeah, it's an interesting thought. I've always used high-speed steel for single point threading, but yeah, I might investigate that later. So for now, we'll fit a few of these into the 7x12 and we'll give them a try. I don't expect any problems at all, because these look to be really well made, and all of the tooling I've ever bought from Banggood in the past has been first class. It's been absolutely excellent. Particularly boring bars, they have a good range of, as I said, they have a good range of small boring bars, well, large to small in a set. That yeah, I reviewed one of those a while back, and that was fantastic. Use it all the time. So there you go. Now, as I said, this will fit the 7x12 definitely, and it should fit the little Sherline. So we'll try it out on both of them. Okay, I've got some mild steel stock in the 7x12. I've got the CCMT tip insert. We'll give that a go. Come in a bit on it. Okay. was at 860 odd RPM, and the finish is, yeah, looks good, doesn't it? Nice. Alright, we'll swap over the insert to a DCMT. See how that goes on this bit. I don't expect it to go as well. CCMT generally gives a better finish than DCMT because it's got a wider angle of attack on it. It's not as narrow as the DCMTs. DCMTs are good for getting into tight corners, and say you want to machine a V-belt pulley or something like that, they can get in and do a good job. But generally the finish is not as good. It's interesting that the feed rate on this little 7x12 is actually set up for, in my opinion, for carbide. It's feeding at, I think I measured it, I think it was 0.12 millimetre per chuck revolution, which equates to, that's medium feed on my 10-inch lathe, which is basically the same feed rate. The worst thing you can do with carbide is feed it too slowly. It hates a slow feed. You always get a better finish at a medium or even a faster feed rate, depending on how deep you go in, the type of chip you're using. But yeah, generally high-speed steel can tolerate very fine feeds and fast feeds, but carbide likes medium to fast, does not like slow. Okay, moving on. Now we'll go DCMT at the same speed, about 860. You can hear that the lathe barely slowed down. Not much in it. This is a little bit, yeah, it's got a little bit more ripple in it. Didn't do a bad job, but this is definitely better, smoother. So yeah, those tool tips did the job, no problem whatsoever. I'll try a boring bar. Now here's a little tip for you if you're ever going to use a boring bar. The problem with boring bars, of course, is that all the rubbish is going to work its way into the centre of the chuck, unless you've got a blind hole, of course, but quite often it's just tubing. So, good tip, put a bit of tissue paper or toilet paper in the chuck centre, and that will stop any rubbish working its way into the finer working parts of the chuck. Okay, I'll rig this up and we'll get on with it. That was 820 RPM, and that did a beautiful job. Excellent. Okay, we'll swap over to the DCMT boring bar now. Once again, it did a reasonable job, but not as good as the CCMT, which is exactly what I expected. So this tooling is ideally suited to the 7x12, and yeah, I think it's perfect for this machine. Let's move on to the little Sherline and see how it fits that. It should be just as good on that. Okay, we'll use the CCMT insert externally, and I'll also use it internally later on. but yep, it should handle these tips no problem. I'll have to spin it pretty fast though, because it will lose a bit of steam otherwise. How's that for finish, Beautiful. Now to use these boring bars, you're going to have to lift them up to the highest part of the tool post, and it's not high enough, so I'm going to use my little, just a quick and dirty mounting block to go under this. That'll just space it up enough, and I can then adjust up the boring bar in the standard tool post. So I'll do that and come back. Right, we'll go CCMT again and see how we get on. Now that was a fairly heavy cut. We'll take it out and look at it. So you can see the CCMT did a good job once again. This little lathe handled it no problem, even though I went in quite deep on that. And, well, for this size lathe anyway. So overall, what do I think of this set? Oh, I think it's really good. It did a great job on all the metal we ran it past. And it worked great on the mini lathe and the micro lathe, no problem whatsoever. They both handled the tooling without an issue in the world, and we got equally good result with both lathes, so no problem there whatsoever. There's only one thing wrong with this set that I can find a fault with, and that is that these three items here, which look to be from the same stock as you would normally get in an indexable set, they would normally use the same stock right through. If you measure it in height, there's actually a very slight difference between all three of them. They're all a bit different, and what that means is that if you say swap that out for that, or that for that, or that for that, you're going to have to re-shim each of these tools because there's slight variations in the tip height that you're going to get. It's a bit of an issue. Well, it's a pain in the butt really, and it shouldn't really happen. And it wouldn't happen with most sets that you buy because they would use the same stock right through. But that's not how these are. It's almost like the set's built up out of individual components they've got, and yeah, that's the one downside. Of course, if you swap the tips out, well, the tips are all going to be the same, so that's not an issue. That's never going to be an issue. But, yep, there's variations in these, just enough to be a nuisance. Surprisingly, even though these come from two different manufacturers, or separate manufacturers, you can swap these out and they're perfectly okay. They actually line up spot on. So it's probably more good luck than good management, but it just goes to show you what can happen with tooling. So as a result of that slight discrepancy, I can only give this a 9 out of 10, but it's certainly a damn good 9. And it's certainly well worth the money. I'd buy it for sure, and yeah, I'd certainly recommend it. Okay, now the link to the webpage for this is in the video description, and you can go there and just see what it costs in your part of the world. But as a value for money buy, I think this is pretty hard to beat, and as a complete set for a micro or a mini, I think this is pretty damn good. Okay, that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Cheers.